With us now is Mr. Tom Fitton. Sir, a privilege and pleasure to have you with us.
Good to be with you, sir.
I had the privilege of meeting your colleague, Chris Burrell. We had a conversation in DC, and it's so interesting. We're witnessing such odd times in history. I'd like your thoughts as to what's occurring right now.
Well, the remarkable election of Donald Trump shows that corruption matters to the American people, and Judicial Watch have been in the forefront of exposing Clinton corruption through the release of her emails that she didn't want anyone to see, emails that implicated her and her colleagues in criminal conduct with pay-to-play at the Clinton Foundation and the State Department. And it was Judicial Watch that obtained that information through our litigation, our Freedom of Information Act litigation. We're not affiliated with a party, we weren't affiliated with a campaign. We were just doing this as part of our mission to uncover and stop government corruption. And with Mrs. Clinton, we found a lot of it. And the FBI and the Justice Department didn't want to do the work, didn't want to take our material and pursue it appropriately. Congress, of course, was AWOL, but the American people took this information seriously and got their accountability at the ballot box. And so there are consequences to the work we did, and it's been a historic impact. And it's all because one little nonprofit, Judicial Watch, took on the State Department and the Justice Department and the Obama administration and fought Mrs. Clinton's lawyers in court and the lawyers for the government in court and won, and got information that the American people thought was essential to their decision making in electing the next President of the United States.
What are the most significant aspects of your endeavors recently?
Well, I think your listeners and viewers might be interested to learn how it is we figured out about the Clinton email scandal. We were getting documents about Benghazi that pointed the finger at the White House, and those documents caused the creation of the Benghazi Select Committee. But even with those documents, we saw that we weren't getting Clinton emails, and we wondered where were the Clinton emails. And that's why we pushed and pushed and pushed, and it was our litigation that I believe forced the administration to admit that Mrs. Clinton had all these emails that they hadn't bothered to search. And that led to these disclosures, which resulted in some way in the election of Mr. Trump to the presidency.
So Judicial Watch was going after all of this, all of these facts, all of this research. Why didn't the authorities do what they were supposed to do?
Well, because politics intrudes on the administration of justice in Washington, D.C. too often. When you have a major league politician like Hillary Clinton, who is a Democrat and a Democrat-controlled administration, it's unfortunate and it's outrageous, but it's no surprise that politics messes with any investigations of Mrs. Clinton. And with her emails, you had Obama administration officials implicated as well. So you had, the fox guarding the hen house, so to speak, and there was no serious investigation. And that's why it's so important to have independent groups like Judicial Watch, who aren't affiliated with the government or political parties or campaigns, doing this work, because it allows for accountability that you don't get when you have government that's broken and corrupted. And here in the United States, we're very lucky to have the ability to do this work because it's not really available anywhere else in the world, where you have this vibrant, independent sector that's able to get its say in court and take on the government, take on lawyers for Hillary Clinton and win.
What do you believe would have happened to you and Judicial Watch had Hillary been elected?
Well, I think my point about having a vibrant independent sector is important, because I don't think they would have allowed it to continue, and they would have pared it back as much as they could have if Mrs. Clinton was elected. We already saw under President Obama his using the IRS to attack and suppress his political opposition in the run-up to his re-election campaign. I think we would have seen more of that under Mrs. Clinton, and obviously using the powers of government to attack her opposition and make it impossible. And I think this is generally the opinion of the left. They don't like non-state actors in policy. So anyone who is independent of the government, they don't like operating, and they would attack us.
Thinking of accountability, what other challenges and issues do you feel are still at hand?
We have major crises in Washington, D.C. as a result of 8 years of lawlessness in the Obama administration. The Clinton email is just one example of it. We have the crisis on the border. We have the national security crisis caused by an Obama administration that has just been outrageously negligent, if not complicit, in allowing the terrorist threat to grow and metastasize here in the United States and abroad. The crisis in the border isn't just about illegal aliens from Mexico coming in. It's about an existential threat to the United States as a result of terrorists from abroad, the Islamic jihadists crossing the border almost at will and operating almost unmolested in our southern border. We need a president who understands that it's an imminent crisis and one that can't wait. You know, I say, given the national security threat at the border as a result of the terrorists taking advantage of the fact the border is unsecure, we can't wait for a wall. We need to be deploying troops and appropriate personnel, perhaps, to the border, and stop pretending that, you know, we can just have government bureaucrats policing the border. We need the military taking a more proactive approach to protecting our border and securing our system.
What about alleged corruption and crimes allegedly perpetrated in the IRS?
Well, again, the IRS needs to be cleaned up. There's been no accountability there. The criminal investigation was kind of like Hillary Clinton's criminal investigation. Everyone knew how it was going to turn out, and they, quote, didn't find anything. I think there needs to be a truth commission of sort under the Obama administration. If they don't do it, maybe Judicial Watch will, where the scandals that have been been neglected in terms of accountability because Obama wasn't going to prosecute himself or his own administration. We need a truth commission to go back and look at all the Obama crimes in the IRS, Benghazi, other places like that, so that there's more confidence that truth and justice had been vindicated. And I think Trump was elected in part to do that, and I hope he keeps his promises.
What are your thoughts with regard to the discrimination by the IRS of organizations that they did not really find to be politically appealing to them, and they would be forgiving with regard to some and hostile to others?
Well, you know, it was very interesting. You saw the IRS go after the Tea Party groups, but, you know, apropos of this show, there was this hostility to groups perceived as pro-Israel. And I don't know what pro-Israel means other than disagreeing with the Obama administration. But the IRS had a broad mandate, it looked like, to go after anyone who was opposed to Obama administration policy. And any group that had a position separate from the Obama administration position on public policy issues were very nervous about how they were operating and wondering when the IRS or other government agencies were going to come knocking.
Not only with regard to tax-exempt organizations and politics and culture, but even in health. There is a big question as to the interference or suppression of organizations that believe in the right to try with alternatives in healthcare and so forth. For example, one of our main sponsors, Life Extension Foundation, Bill Falloon, has been tormented actually by the IRS, wrongly I understand, for many years, and the important work he and others are doing. So what I'd like to ask you for your opinion with regard to healthcare organizations that do research on the diseases of aging and so forth, such as Life Extension Foundation and others, who are subjected to scrutiny and harassment, basically, allegedly, by the authorities.
Well, that's an interesting scenario, and I don't know the specifics of the issue you raised, but, you know, maybe Mr. Trump as a businessman will come in and see that innovation is important and that government agencies are usually behind and don't like innovation, whether it be the FDA or the IRS and other stalking horses for government regulation. So, you know, I think there may be, we have to think broadly in terms of revolutionizing the government's relationship with its people. We don't work for them, they work for us, and the regulations are supposed to advance the public interest and not protect special interests.
Before we conclude this interview, and I thank you for joining us spontaneously here at the Breakers Hotel with construction occurring around us, so we apologize for the noise. Mr. Fitton, what final message would you like to share with our audience?
You know, the people can make a difference in our politics still. I mean, Judicial Watch is one nonprofit group, and we use the law available to us as Americans, this precious, precious right we have to petition our government and to go and sue it in court, to hold the government to account, and hold Hillary Clinton, one of the most powerful women in the world, to account. And it may be frustrating to see that things aren't going well in America and in our government, but it shows you that things can change with just a little extra work and effort. And so you have to keep working, you have to be vigilant and diligent on behalf of our values, and things sometimes work out in the end.
Mr. Fitton, a pleasure and privilege. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it.
I'll be right back.
Life Extension Foundation was established in 1977 and has grown to become the world's largest consumer-based anti-aging organization. Life-saving achievements taken for granted today were pioneered by Life Extension Foundation decades ago. Life Extension is currently funding $10 million a year in research on significantly extending a healthy human lifespan. Diseases that once plagued humanity have largely been eradicated by scientific innovation. 3 leading causes of death in 1900 compared with how people die today. Smallpox killed millions before it was eliminated in 1979. Life Extension funds research to fight biological aging so that it also will become a relic of the past. Log on to lifeextensionfoundation.org.